Right, hello everybody. This is going to be a stream for about an hour today. I'm doing a bit of an earlier stream today, so people might get a chance to see this one who don't normally get a chance to see it. So don't forget to like the stream and everything, and don't forget, if you want to support the channel, there's merch and everything below. Excellent. Again, annoyingly, it seems like the stream delay is quite a bit on this one. So hopefully it's not too far behind. My parcel's not arrived yet, but my dad's got home, so he said he'll get the door if while I'm streaming. So hopefully yeah, don't forget to like everybody, it does help out. But yeah, so hopefully that Stauhelm should come today, like the Fire Brigade Stauhelm, which should be quite interesting. As far as I'm aware, it was West Germany used them, there you got all the old World War II Stauhelms, put new liners in them, painted them like a fluorescent kind of white colour, and then put some like heat padding and visors on them, and then reused them, which is quite interesting. So there's not a theme for this stream, but if we get any good topics, we can obviously talk about them. I'm not going to bother putting a gas mask or anything on for this one, because, as I said, it's sort of early afternoon. Yeah, you go on eBay and buy them, Damos or Damos. You buy them basically. Alright, cool. Which air show's that? Alright, cool. Do you like the S10? Well, it makes sense, doesn't it, to use up a lot of the old surplus. Like, if you've got old military helmets laying around, if you put, liners in that give better head protection if something falls on them, then you want to reinforce them, whatever. It does make sense to use up old helmets rather than just throwing them away. Because there are lots of military helmets that would be quite practical for other uses, if you put the right liners and everything on them. Right, cool. I've never actually been up to Cosford. Don't they have an A10 at Cosford? And a Blackbird. I got up fairly early today. It's like 12:30, 20 to 1 in the UK at the moment. But I got up at 7 AM today, or just after 7, because I've been trying to get up at 7 on my days off every day this week to try and get my body clock back into a thing. Because days I'm working or volunteering, I am up at about 7, but then on days when I'm not, I tend to sleep in a bit. But the problem is that means my body clock starts getting quite messed up, where I feel really tired in the mornings, but then can't sleep in the evenings. Oh, Duxford. Okay. Let me search RAF Cosford. See if it's one I've been to a lot. Cosford RAF Museum, because I've been to a couple of the RAF museums, but don't think I've been to Cosford. I've been to the one that's got the Cold War exhibit in it, and I've been to... Oh, that is Cosford, is it? Yeah, okay, so I've been to Cosford, because Cosford's the one where they were restoring the Heinkel or whatever it was, wasn't it? Not the Heinkel, I'm trying to think which one it was now, the one they fished out the sea. But I've also been to the big one near London. Can't think of the name of that now off the top of my head. I don't have to get up as early as 5 AM, 7 AM's fine. Because if I was getting up at 5 AM, I'd have to go to sleep earlier to get a decent amount of sleep, and then I wouldn't get stuff done in the evening. But yeah, I mean, I'm liking it at the moment, because I'm going to sleep about midnight and then waking up at 7. 7 hours sleep is actually enough for me when I get into the habit of it. So, yeah, that works out well enough for me. Because I don't want to go to bed too early, because, there's a lot of stuff where I get stuff done in the evening. But I do like getting up early in the sense that, before midday you can get, for me, I can get a video filmed and get a lot of stuff done around the house. Because the issue is I have as well is if I have a day where I have a lay-in, I don't even feel that energetic when I get up, so I've wasted half the day in bed and I still, you know, don't feel awake and alert. There's that gas mask sign. Then I don't know if I'm going to be pointing directly at them because I'm obviously not looking behind me, but I've got PDF. Oh, thank you very much, Laser Point Productions as well. Cheers, thank you, and yeah, don't forget to like the stream, everybody, because it does seem to help YouTube share them because it counts as an interaction. So Soviet PDFD with a custom hose on it, Soviet Y2K half-face respirator, a GP7, a Sieb Gorman VistaVision, another PDF, a German M65, Chinese Type 64A was it? I can't remember. And a GP5M or PMG2, whichever you want to call it. Oh, and on that shelf there's a Bulgarian PG1, which is another M65 copy. Yeah, I'm good, thank you. But yeah, I've not done loads today other than getting a YouTube video done. I did a video, you probably can't see it yet because the not the watermark, the disclaimer will be hiding it, but I did a video testing the I've forgotten the name of it now. PTM1, I did a video testing the PTM1 today. Yeah, it does look like a good sign, doesn't it? I don't know anything about a gas plant that exploded in Russia. I heard like a few days ago they had an explosive factory explode, didn't they? But thankfully I don't think that killed anyone. It injured a few people, but thankfully it didn't kill anyone. But yeah, PTM1 worked really good against smoke. I did the incense burning thing like Hype suggested, burnt 2 incense sticks, and I could only very faintly smell it. But it definitely, you know, stops you choking on it. What about your comments? They're not showing up. You need to actually make a comment if you want me to chat on it, or maybe you did and YouTube hid it, but... over 100, Boris. Not sure the exact number now because I don't keep track of them on like a PDF or like a Word document anymore like I used to. If that document hadn't got lost when Windows 10 fucked up my PC and I had to reformat all the drives, I'd still have the document, I'd still keep adding to it, but I can't be bothered to write out the entire document again, but over 100. But some of those are duplicates, you know, some of them aren't worth really anything, but, you know. The number's not really all that important to any collection. I'm not going to bother getting anything down today, as I said, it's just going to be a chat stream. If you want to see videos on the L1A1, there's plenty of videos of it on the channel. Well, I did a video on it, Damon, so my opinion's not changed since the video, has it? When you say red vest, do you mean the French riot armour thing in the background? Well, we did a video where we were hitting it with like the pickaxe handle and like the bokken that's back there, and you know, you could feel some of the impacts through it a bit, but it didn't get damaged at all by it. In theory, I suppose as long as you weren't hitting it with blades or anything like that, it's going to hold up pretty well. Yeah, because the thing is, in theory, if somebody just wanted to boast about having a massive gas mask collection, all they would, in theory, have to do is just buy a few of those shipping crates of GP5s, and they could say, oh, I've got like 300 masks, because they just have loads of GP5s, but that's not really very interesting, is it? What do you mean, what if I don't quite get your thing, what you're on about? Well, there's always been a need for like respirators and things like that, because even if there weren't gases, if this is what you're saying, there's like harmful particulates that people that work in certain factories need to filter out. So, you know, I'm pretty sure you wouldn't, even if chemical warfare didn't happen, I'm pretty sure you'd have still had work respirators be invented. Right, so yeah, anybody that's off. Also, apologies if there's slightly loud fan noise in the background. I've just got the air purifier on because I used the incense to test the mask earlier. Although that smells nice, I don't like the stuff lingering around too long. Just because obviously if that lingers around too long, it makes residue on lots of the things in the room, and it can set my asthma off when it's more in the powdery form. No, the helmet's coming today. My dad's in now, sophistry, so he's going to answer the door if it comes while I'm streaming, and then after the stream I'll keep an ear out for it as well. But it says out for delivery today on the tracking info, but it doesn't have any more info than that. Yeah, pesticides are quite nasty, so yeah, you'd need respirators for that. I don't know if it'll work, Riley, but try using a rubber on a GP5 as in like an eraser, because I think Hype said you can actually use the GP5 as an eraser to rub pencil off of things. So maybe, I don't know if it'd work if you use an eraser on a GP5, would that remove a stain? But it depends what kind of stain it is, because if the rubber's properly like UV damaged and everything, you're not going to get it off using rubber. Yeah, I saw your thing on Discord about that laser point production. It's weird, isn't it? But I guess they weren't very concerned about quality control in the factory that day. It was kind of interesting. Well, I'm English, yeah, so it would be a British accent, but it's more like a south area of England sort of accent. Afternoon, Richard. It depends, because flak jackets are not designed to stop blades, they're designed to stop shrapnel. It depends how hard it's being thrusted and what angle and what kind of blade it is, because flak jackets are ballistic nylon, aren't designed to stop knives. If you've got a sharp enough knife and somebody's stabbing hard enough, it's not going to stop it. It'd be better than regular clothing, but again, like, even with Kevlar stuff, it doesn't stop blades. You have to get, like, treated Kevlar, essentially, for knives, where they put an anti-stab layer in it. Either, like, the chainmail stuff, or, like, a separate anti-stab layer in front or behind the Kevlar. Yeah, it's like my GP7 there doesn't work properly, because the threaded thing for the filter intake on that isn't quite threaded right. So I found even if I try and put GOST filters on it, they don't seem to screw in properly. Just for nuclear fallout, all you need is a dust mask. I mean, obviously a full face respirator would be better, but any kind of half face respirator like the Y2K, obviously P3 would be preferable to P1 or P2, but yeah, the danger with radioactive fallout is inhaling it, so basically you just want something that acts like a dust filter. What exams would you be doing in Evil Zuckles? I think that's at least a good thing with the simpler masks like the GP5, because they are a bit more simple. You don't have to worry too much about the quality control. Obviously they'd still manage to screw your one up, but you know, that's the problem with things like the PMK1 and the GP7s, because they're more complicated masks, they tend to suffer more for the lower quality control. I've done a video on my entire Soviet gas mask collection, but quite a lot. I've got 2 MM1s, the PTM1, I'm getting another PTM1, 2 GP5s, 2 GP5Ms, 2 PMGs, a PMK, a GP7, the Y2K, the SHMS or SHMS, a SHM 41. So quite a lot. PBF. Just for particulates, you're probably just going to want to get a good half-face industrial mask for that Soviet Union 44. I don't actually know with Fallout. I'm assuming alpha radiation can still enter your body through your eyes, because I know it's like either cuts, inhalation, or ingestion, isn't it? So I'm assuming if it gets in your eyes, it would still damage you. So yeah, I'd still prefer a full face mask for stuff like that, but in theory, at least how, like, the science of it works, inhalation is what does the most damage of Fallout. Cool. Don't use the filter with a GP5 for obvious reasons, but yeah, enjoy your GP5. They're a good mask if you're beginning a collection or whatever, because they're a functional gas mask, and, you know, they're an interesting sort of historical relic, aren't they? If I see a cheap PMK2, I might get one, but I've never seen cheap PMK2s because nearly all of them have had like £30+ postage from Russia, which I'm not going to pay. Yeah, like you showed earlier when you took that rubber tab off the bottom, yeah, asbestos fell out. So yeah, with the GP5 filters, don't throw them away, just keep them sealed and then get like an FP5 filter or something safe if you want to put a filter on it. But yeah, don't mess about with the GP5 filters. Alright, Celtic Productions. Yeah, the thing is, like I said before, with most of the surplus I buy, it ends up when I spot things at good prices, or unless I really, really want something. Because a lot of the time, there's stuff I'd get if I see it at a good price, and then there's sometimes stuff I'm browsing and I spot something, and because it's cheap I end up getting it. But, you know, that's the thing, is there's lots of stuff where I don't go after specific bits of surplus, just because, you know, I'll get stuff when it's a good price. Probably because it's cheap too. So, you know, if it's a cheap mask and you're making a film, you probably go, or whatever, put a GP5 in it. Britain won't be invaded. But I probably couldn't do very much, could I? That's a theoretical, but this is a stream of peace. Let's not chat about violence. I know it's theoretical, but still. Yeah, better safe than sorry anyway. But yeah, I'm going to actually, tomorrow, I reckon I will take this out when I'm volunteering for working in the dusty environments, because I reckon it'll work well. It might look a bit sinister, but, you know, I reckon this would be a good thing to wear for volunteering. See if I can get those lenses correctly. I think, yeah, this one I might have to cut to be a bit bigger. Let's do that now, actually, so you can see me do it on camera. So I'm going to redo this lens. So what I need to do is I'll use this one as a basis. Get this out. So it just needs to be a bit taller, doesn't it, essentially? So get a spare one of these out if it wants to come out the tin. There we go. Right, so I'll bin a load of this spare paper because I don't need it. What's in here? Right, I can go in the bin. Right, so what I need to do then is use this one as a guideline. I'll try and do it where it's visible. So I want it to obviously be a bit taller than this one. So cut this bit along here. I'll tidy those up off the floor in a bit, and then I'll cut this one here. Now, as you can hopefully see, the one I've just cut is bigger than the old one. Let's see if it fits in. If not, I might have to trim it down ever so slightly. But how you put the lenses in this thing is you basically just do this till you get them in the little gap. So that's the only reason this is a bit complicated to get the celluloid lenses in, is because the bit they sit in is obviously bigger than the bit from the outside. So it requires a bit of manipulation of the actual thing to get it in. There we go. That's pushing that bit to one side slightly, but I don't think that will matter for the see, I'll tell you what I could actually do very quickly. I'll just, yeah, trim that down ever so slightly. What I just want to do is get that little top bit off there. Then slide that back in. There we go, and then, yep, that should be pretty good. Yep, seems to be alright. It's just that way, obviously, you're stopping any dust getting in from that section. Zombie application, you mean a zombie apocalypse? Well, it depends, because if my medication runs out, I'm screwed, as I've said before in other videos. But in terms of, being able to kill zombies, I reckon I could do that, because they're not exactly very fast, are they? It's just if there's a big horde, you're in trouble. What do you mean by a PG stream? Yeah, it'll probably look very unusual, but the thing is I want something that will actually protect me. The thing is I've got like the 3M half face masks, and a lot of people think they look unusual, but the thing is, as I said, is it's better for me that my asthma doesn't play up and my hay fever doesn't play up, so I'd rather wear a Soviet fallout hood than I would actually, you know, be coughing and spluttering and sneezing everywhere. Well, a GP5 filter would protect you from the dust in the environment. The danger is you might inhale the asbestos dust inside the filter. It's called the Soviet PTM1, and there's a couple of variants of it. I've got another one coming that's in blue, hopefully, as long as it's not just where they've got a picture of blue and they send you whatever colour they just randomly send. But I wouldn't mind having another one of these spare anyway. And it was designed as a very cheap fallout hood. It obviously doesn't protect you from gas, but it can protect you from like bacteriological powders and you know, obviously like fallout dust. The whole point of it is basically it just protects you from inhaling dust. But it's very comfortable because it's just a cotton mask. You should go to as an obvious thing, don't try and start arguments with people in the chat, but obviously somebody wanted to do that today, but like I said, I'm not going to get involved in any arguing with people. If you want to ask people about like buying stuff, it's probably best to PM them. Stream is rated G for gas mask. Yeah, some of them are blue, but yeah, if you Google PTM1 mask, you should get quite a few pictures of them. But yeah, the blue one I'm getting, if I do get the blue one, looks like it's got an extra bit of elastic on it, which might be cool. Like, you know, so it should be even better at staying put together. But yeah, the thing that looks good about it, or, well, I know is good about it, but you know about those, is that it's just like a fairly simple idea for a dust mask. But, you know, it actually, you know, would work effectively. Because the thing is, obviously, with something like this, is it's very lightweight, and it's very soft and flexible. And if you're working in a hot environment, I'd much rather have cotton on my face than rubber, to be honest. My rarest are probably the two British C7 respirators I've got, which was one they started making in either the late 40s or early 50s, for the British population in the event of a nuclear war, just like NBC warfare. And then they decided the masks cost too much and everybody was going to die in a nuclear war anyway, so they recalled and destroyed the masks, or recycled them. So it was only the people who didn't send them back where the masks still exist now, and over the years I bought two off of eBay. They're not anything special as masks, they're like slightly better versions of the British World War II respirators. You know, they've actually got an exhale valve on these, but obviously it's not safe to breathe through the filter. But the point was that, you know, the British government thought even a very cheap mass-produced mask wasn't worth investing in for the British people, so you know, they were all recycled or whatever. But yeah, now and again you'll find somebody selling one on eBay, and if they don't want too much for it, they are worth a buy. I'm pretty sure I've seen some cycle masks like that, laser point production. I mean, if the activated charcoal layer is really thin, it's not going to do anything, is it? But as I've been saying on the last couple of streams, I've been trying a few things like this, and I've had, you know, no real success with them. This was better than the other one, but obviously the issue with them is, as I said, compared to the PTM, is that because they only put one strap on most of these, rather than the two straps, you can't actually really get them tight enough and secure enough, so what ends up happening is air just gets around the filters anyway. It doesn't matter if the particulate filters are really well set up in these, the issue is that obviously they're not going to do their job, and that's why I don't like lots of dust masks, because they're just not secure enough. I've listened to some Metallica, but I do like kind of like 70s and 80s like metal kind of rock stuff, yeah. Got quite a bit of Soviet gear. I'm trying to think off the top of my head though what I've got that isn't gas mask. I mean, I've got an RPK, but that's Yugoslavian. I've got some helmets. I've got that Chernobyl Liquidators medal I've done a video on, but that's not live yet. What else is there? But yeah, I do have other stuff that's Soviet other than gas masks, but mostly just gas masks, yeah. But yeah, the problem is like those sort of masks is unless they're made from a material like rubber, they're not going to really mould to your face. So if you've got them without rubber, you're going to need really good straps to actually keep them in place. So then if you have a mask that isn't made of rubber and then it doesn't have good straps, it's really not going to be adequate to protect you from dust. Oh, if you got an FM12 for the price of an S10, that's pretty good, unless you actually wanted an S10. Yeah, but I wouldn't advise breathing through a GP5 filter to protect you from dust, because obviously, if you inhale the asbestos from the original filters, then that's going to cause you a lot of damage. But yeah, masks are good for working in dusty environments, but you've got to find like a good compromise, haven't you, between something that's comfortable to wear for quite a while and something that actually will protect you, because the thing I found is a lot of the like basic comfort based respirators aren't good enough to actually give you good respiratory protection. And then obviously some of the full-blown masks are a bit too cumbersome and, you know, annoying to wear for a long time if you're using them in a dusty environment. So I'll try all the PTM1 tomorrow and see. I think it should work quite well, to be honest, but you know, it'll protect me from dust ideally and be fairly comfortable. I wonder if it will fold up quite small as well. So obviously the bits with the celluloid on won't fold, but yeah, could basically just put this in the pocket, couldn't you? There we go. So yeah, that's brilliant, because that fits in the pocket, and then you can get it out and put it on. So yeah, definitely try that tomorrow. I wouldn't think this being sweaty in a helmet-style hood mask would affect it too much. Yeah, if it's a post-communist Czechoslovakian filter, I imagine it would definitely be safe, because a lot of the Czech, well, it wouldn't be Czechoslovakian then, but it would just be Czech Republic. But yeah, I imagine a lot of the Czech Republic filters are very good, because they're a lot of the Czech NBC stuff is very well made. Yeah, but I think I've scared guinea pigs before and things inadvertently wearing the FM12 for stuff, because the thing is I use the half-face respirator, but because obviously allergen, with hay fever, if a lot of the pollens and stuff get in your eye, they can still give you itchy eyes. So half the time I end up thinking, fuck using a half-face respirator, I'm just going to go for the full FM12, because I know that makes a better face seal for me. You know, so I'm actually happier using the FM12, but in theory this gives you full face protection just against dusts, not anything else. So, yeah, it might look a bit creepy, but if it does the job, as I said, it does the job, you know. But thank you again for the donation, I appreciate that. Yeah, I'd love to visit Chernobyl at some point, but as I've said before, when we were planning on doing it before, because my dad wanted to go as well, that was when like the Ukrainian civil war, civil unrest, Russian incursion, whatever you want to call it, happened. And then obviously lots of holidays were cancelled and things like that, so then we picked a different country to go to. I'd definitely be open to going there, but you know, it's just finding the time to do it, isn't it? Because like I said, next year ideally I'd like to go on holiday to the US, because obviously I wanted to go to America for ages, and next year I should have enough spare cash and time that, you know, I can do it. I don't think they really care, Conrad. I think some of them find it a bit silly, but, you know, most people know if it's like a hobby and, you know, you can make some money back from it or whatever, fair enough, you know. But yeah, but I think a lot of people like it in the sense that sometimes when I'm doing stuff, people ask me for advice on respirators, and I can say, well, I'm not technically qualified in any way, so you ought to ask, you know, somebody who's health and safety conscious, you know, like qualified, if you want really like recommended advice. But I can give you some good advice for DIY using like half face masks and whatever. You know, I generally tell them to avoid the dust masks, get a proper half face mask because the better face seal. Paracord is very good. It's like very good and strong paracord. I like paracord for a lot of things. You know, if I ever want to, I use it instead of string if ever I need string type stuff. But yeah, it should be fine for a lanyard. I mean, at some point I might get a 3M full face respirator, but like I say, because I'm on private property where I'm volunteering anyway, it's never a problem. Because the thing is, like, even the 3M half face respirators can get funny looks from people, so, you know, I kind of take the in for a penny, in for a pound approach, often just wear the full NBC gear. But yeah, I mean, I can perfectly see why somebody might want to clear, like, you know, a bit like the VistaVision, a panoramic kind of full face thing, so it looks less intimidating. Yeah, I've heard a lot about Chernobyl, but I've still not looked into it properly. Well, I definitely would do videos of it if I went to Pripyat. I don't know, because my mate Bart, he tried it on yesterday and it wouldn't fit him, but he's got a very big head. It fits me alright. Obviously you can adjust this one at the back, but I do not know if there was other sizes, because until like a week ago I didn't even know these masks existed, or, you know, barely any info on them. But I suppose it probably just depends, because these weren't made to an industrial standard as much as some of the other Soviet masks. It probably just depends on, you know, the lengths the person making it went to, I guess. I imagine there are, you know, variations in the sizes of these, but I really don't know, to be honest. Australia definitely made masks, but a lot of the masks Australia made were just like Australian-built versions of the British masks. Like, there's Australian light anti-gas respirators, there's Australian S10s. But I don't know if Australia's ever designed any domestic masks that are totally different than other ones. That'd be interesting. Alright, cool. But yeah, for the people saying it's quite early, it's because I've been getting up earlier, and as I said, I like to now and again do streams not in the evening UK time, just so it's good for people in other time zones. Because it's a bit unfair if every time I stream it's always evening for people in the UK and like Western Europe, and then afternoon for America, but people in other parts of the world can't watch them. So I do like to try and stream now and again at different times of days, and it also means in the evening then I don't have to think, oh, I need to do a stream this evening. You know, I can do something else, like watch a film or something. Yeah, I mean, the M98 would be fine for that, but like I said, I've not really used it for that. That's a good shout, to be honest. Yeah, the M98 might be alright for that, but as I said, I want to test this anyway. And like where I'm volunteering, nobody minds what masks I wear, because they appreciate my help, and they, you know, obviously know they'd much rather have somebody wearing a mask that's not coughing and sneezing everywhere than have somebody have like an asthmatic fit or whatever, and then, you know, they get in trouble over it. So yeah, I mean, the M98 might be a good choice. I hadn't really thought about that, but yeah, you're right, Laserpoint. It might be a good choice for that, but I mean, it would look better than the FM12, wouldn't it? But I still might just make a homemade dust mask. If I made most countries, I'd do videos on it, mate. What, when you say ballistic masks, Conrad, do you mean like bulletproof kind of masks? Because you can't get ballistic gas masks as far as I'm aware. But I know there's a couple of companies that make kind of almost like steel plate masks, which are designed for stopping pistol rounds or something, aren't they? They're fairly cool, but I don't have any. Let me search that one up, sophistry, because that sounds interesting. Lung guard. Let me put mask after that. That's a cool looking mask, yeah. That's interesting, because the the mask looks pretty modern, but the box it comes in on the Google images looks really retro. That's quite funny. But yeah, that lung guard thing looks cool. Protect air respirator equipment. Yeah, that's cool. Yeah, that's cool. I mean, I like Oscam because it's cool looking camouflage. I've seen definitely some special forces from Asia or like anti-terror police with some of those ballistic masks on. But as I said, I really don't know how well they'd work. And would they be really uncomfortable? I don't know. Because I don't know how well the weight of like having a metal plate over your face would be distributed. Yeah, like I say in Pro Force, I know for certain it might have been Malaysia or somewhere in Asia. They definitely have special forces that have those metal, like face masks. But funnily enough, Sophistry, that was the site I found when I was just looking at those pictures of them. But yeah, let me go back on there and I'll look up the other masks on there. I'll bookmark this page actually. So they've got a VistaVision type one on there as well. But yeah, the lung guard's really cool. I think out of all of them, that's the coolest looking one, because a lot of the others are just like copies, aren't they? Like Australia-made copies. But yeah, the lung guard's pretty cool. Yeah, not raped your face, taped your face. I'm assuming it's got like elasticated straps on it, because the thing is, I can imagine that would be comfortable enough if you had like a riot helmet and then the metal plate was on the visor, a bit like, you know, like how the Russian titanium helmets have it. But yeah, they literally look like they've got elastic like kind of straps on them or something, and they stay on your face that way. Yeah, I've shot a bolt action before Riley and a shotgun, but that was at a farm like decades ago. Well, not decades because I'm only 25, but probably going back 12 or so years. Basically, it's like we used to have these family friends, and they used to own a farm, and they don't anymore, sadly, because, you know, if you don't know, British farming got completely fucked. And they had, obviously, just like a shotgun and like a rifle for keeping foxes away from like the animals. So one time we visited them, I shot the guns very briefly there, but sadly, this was before I did the YouTube stuff, because obviously if I ever visited anywhere like that again, I'd definitely film doing a bit of like plinking with a 22 long rifle or whatever, you know. But that was before I was really all into guns, actually. You know, I thought it was cool, but I didn't think too much of it, because it was just, you know, let's give you a quick safety talk, shoot some cans, you know, like 20 yards away on a bench. Okay, there you go, you've had your fun with the gun. Yeah, that makes a lot more sense, Bing, to be honest, because obviously shrapnel is not going to penetrate as well as bullets, is it? Ah, okay, yeah, Taiwan, right, yeah. I don't know, Conrad, I'm assuming elasticated. Yeah, like splatter masks, basically. They're pretty cool, splatter masks. They're quite creepy, aren't they? Like the ones where it's like the metal faceplate and then it's got chainmail over like the eyes and bits. Yeah, they're cool and creepy looking. It's interesting, isn't it, with like some of the World War I trench warfare stuff, how it ended up becoming almost like modernised medieval stuff with like the trench weapons and all like the trench armours. Over 100 Pepper Jack, but as already said in the stream, I've not had a text document to count them up for ages, so over 100, not all of those are unique masks, some are duplicates where I've got like multiple GP5s and things, but you know. The only thing with like some of the masks like that though is even if they could stop a bullet, would it like break part of your skull from the force of a bullet hitting it? Because that's the problem like with a lot of body armour type stuff, is that the body armour can physically stop the bullet, but it can't stop the trauma of the bullet hitting you. I'm assuming there would be red outserts for the FM12, but I don't have any outserts for my FM12, just simply because I've never seen any at a good price. There's one, isn't there, called The Trench or something like that, where they're like in some kind of purgatory thing, where like, I don't want to give too many spoilers, but they're like cross no man's land and they take a trench, and then they don't know if they've like died and they're stuck in purgatory or are in like some sort of possessed trench. I actually really don't know, Semicon. It might really depend, because you'd need to check what filters actually stop exhaust fumes, if any do. But I'm assuming like an A2, B2 filter probably would, what's in exhaust fumes. But you probably want something that's at least a half-face respirator, like a 3M one with proper filters, rather than, like we were saying, these aren't going to do a very good job. Yeah, I know we have trauma plates, but like I was saying, if you've got a little face mask, I don't know how much that's going to work, because even if the face mask acts as a trauma plate itself, I still think some shock would go through it, because obviously when you have a trauma plate in front of a bit of Kevlar that's inside like a fabric carrier, all the materials are going to work together to absorb some of the stress, aren't they, and the force of impact. That's all I'm thinking. I mean, you're completely right, trauma plates obviously do stop. That's the job of a trauma plate, but with a little mask, I can't imagine there's much padding or anything on that if something hits you. Because it's like with the Riot helmet I've got. The Riot helmet's thick plastic, it's got a proper shock liner in and everything, but if you were hit hard enough in the head with the Riot helmet on, you know, you could still get brain damage and everything from the trauma. You'd need a full face respirator with an NBC suit, Demar. With, I think, nerve agents are normally B series on ABEC, but you probably just want a full CBRN filter for that. But again, you'd need to know well in advance it's coming to get the mask and the NBC suit on in time, because nerve agent will kill through skin contact as well as inhalation. Well, you can get like combination filters, they call them, like the ABEC ones and the ones that have really, really long names that filter loads of gases, but there's still some gases that gas mask filters can't filter, just because I guess either the molecules are too small or something else. So there's some scenarios where you'd need either an air supplied respirator or a rebreather, just because that, you know, there's certain gases where if the concentration is too high or the oxygen's too low, or on like very specific gases, you just can't stop them with a filter. I've been on 41 minutes so far. Mike, you have an alright lunch? That's why, like we're saying, ballistic masks, I think it would work better on the ones that have it like a visor where it's away from your face, because that way the helmet's going to absorb some of the shock. You know, if you have like a, like a titanium visor like that, if a round hits it, it's not, you know, right next to your face when a round hits it. But imagine if you've just got like a metal mask with like elastic to the back of your head, a metal round hitting that, especially if it causes the metal to buckle slightly, you know, that could dent your skull in, really, couldn't it? And the other thing I'd think of with a ballistic mask is neck trauma as well. Because again, if it stops shrapnel or a bullet hitting you at high speed in the head, could it still break your neck or cause like severe whiplash or something like that? That sounds lovely, Mike. Yeah, like the Tachanka helmets, that's the ones I'm on about. I think they're a lot better in terms of face protection, because on a visor the helmet is going to take a lot more of a shock than just your face directly behind it. Oh, that's interesting. Charles Bronson the actor or Charles Bronson the prisoner, but I know about both, Conrad. Yeah, the thing is, I know you can get lots of those like different things, but I still think at the end of the day they've not really made armour yet, have they, that completely can take the force of it. That's why it was interesting when Rich was talking about that motocross armour, because some of the good motocross armour has like a strengthened bit near the spine, so, you know, even though you've got soft body armour on lots of it, it would protect your spine if you fell where your spine is. And I think, you know, armour's going to need to go that way, isn't it, if they really want to keep making more and more advanced, kind of like ballistic armour. Because as much as, yes, you can stop the bullets, there's still a lot of damage that could be done to the body even if you stop the bullet. Yeah, have you seen the Tom Hardy film about him? That's quite good. But yeah, what's his name now? But speaking of Charles Bronson, just so I'm going to prove to you I know who he is, I think I've got the book here. Is it here? I can see. Yeah, here it is. There you go. So yeah, I do know who Charles Bronson is. Cool, Bing. Yeah, I'm going to be on for another 20 odd minutes. Depends what kind of medieval armour it is, Soviet Union. I'd imagine some of the plate armour would stop pistol rounds, especially the heavy Civil War era ones that was able to stop musket balls, but that would be very heavy. Yeah, not on medieval helmets, but on like the chest plates, because the helmets have to be quite thin, but like the actual big like chest plates, especially the musket era ones, could definitely stop musket balls. So if it could stop a musket ball, I imagine it could stop a pistol round, but again, that was quite heavy armour. Well, either riot armour, or you'd probably want to get like that motocross sort of motorcycle armour that Rich was mentioning before. If you look up on eBay and type in motocross armour, I will go to Australia at some point. Yeah, if you look up motocross armour, some of that looks very good for, you know, like protecting you from physical trauma, because it's built a bit like that French riot armour is. So let me just show you. I'm not going to obviously put this on right now, but so yeah, like with that, I don't want to hit the Vista Vision, so be careful. See, that's pretty good stuff. There you go. Because obviously how that works is you know, this is like quite hard foam, but the foam can move, so the foam, you know, shrinks in a bit when it's hit to absorb some of the impact. But you know, it's hard enough still as well that you know, it works well. I don't think you need licenses for ballistic helmets. I mean, I've not. Do you mean like just as in like the police helmet kind of ones, like the Kevlar ones or the military ones? In terms of like the armed police Kevlar 3A helmets, they're about £50 on eBay if you want one in good condition. I've very rarely though seen for sale, and thanks again for the donation, I've very rarely seen for sale though any kind of proper ballistic, you know, high grade ballistic stuff. Not anymore, Conrad. I used to when I used to work in the city, just because there were a lot of drug addicts around and there was like lots of muggings and, you know, like violent crime and just people getting drunk and brawling in the streets. But because I don't work there now, you know, I'm with my current job, it's not very far from my house. I can park in the car park and it's mostly old people there. There's nobody that's gonna you know, try and mug me there. So I don't need to, thankfully. Because, you know, it's one of those things where I like having a Kevlar vest and it's good to have, but I wouldn't really want to wear it, you know, because it's a bit depressing, isn't it, if you have to actually go around wearing a stab vest and all that a lot of the time. But yeah, thankfully with my current job, no, I don't need it, because I'm very rarely ever going anywhere where I think I'd actually need to wear protection. Well, you know, that kind of protection anyway. Yeah, let me quickly get it to show you laser point production. Just a second. Right, here we go. This is, I've got a Flecton cover on it, but that's obviously not the actual helmet itself, so let's get the thing off so you can see it. There you go. This is my UK Armed Police helmet, which you can probably hopefully see there. It's called the MLA apparently, but just a second, let me get the thing so I can see the real-time thing. Right, hopefully that's visible. So, Commando, medium, 3A protection level. So yeah, this is a Kevlar helmet made in the UK. It's basically like a Pascut style Mitch helmet, one of those. It's got quite a good liner in this one. I put that on backwards. Yeah. Right. There we go. So yeah, this is a fairly good helmet. But yeah, £50 for something like this in the UK. So yeah, £50 for something like this is very good. You can sometimes get them as cheap as 30. It depends on the condition of it, but yeah. In the UK, I found if you're trying to buy a ballistic helmet for actual, you know, protection, the best ones tend to be the armed police ones, because the armed police in the UK actually have better equipment than the army does, and the police always surplus their stuff off online, you know, after a certain amount of years. Because with this stuff, because of like the licenses and all that, not licenses, but you know, like the health and safety rules, with Kevlar, after so many years they have to retire it, even if it's in perfect condition. So that's like with the same thing with the police Kevlar vest behind me. You can, if for like not very much money, you can just get full body armor, because the police sell it off because they don't want to, you know, like have a lawsuit if they kept the Kevlar in use and then something did go through it because it was a bit old. So the police sell it off quite cheap just so they can get a bit of money back. So yeah, all the Kevlar helmets and the vests. You can buy police vests that are like Kevlar level 3A, which can have trauma plates inserted as well. I've seen them on eBay. If I see one of those that includes the bits for not too much money, I might get one. But when I was looking not too long ago, it ended up being the Mark IV Osprey armour I got, because they were cheaper at the time. I've got a Soviet-style SSH-60 or whatever they're called, but it's actually a Hungarian-built version of it. Yeah, exactly. Having a Kevlar plate in a backpack, or like a stab-proof panel in a backpack's good, because if somebody tried to stab you in the back or whatever, it protects you. And as Weapon Collector showed in the video, you could set it up like a stab thing, and then take your backpack off and use it as a shield if somebody came at you with a knife. Yeah, let's have a quick look on eBay and see how much these helmets currently are. But they're not generally not all that much. I'll link to one if I spot one, just so you guys get an idea. But the police ones are better than the military helmets. Like the police riot helmets, you can get between £20 and £30 normally on eBay. Most of the helmets come up with the regular, like, Bobby helmets. Let me just search Kevlar police helmet. Grade B ones for £40. Is there any grade A's? Yeah, here's a grade A one, just to give you an idea of a bit like the one I'm wearing. There you go. So yeah, around £50, so you can get them a bit cheaper if the liner's damaged inside or whatever. But yeah, if you actually wanted in the UK at least to buy a 3A helmet, that's the cheapest way of doing it, I found. Well, I'd say something like this is a useful lightweight ballistic helmet, because this is one which, as I said, is Kevlar 3A. You know, it's comfortable enough. The liner's not ideal in this, but it's good enough for what it is. Helmet's lightweight and comfortable, and it's Kevlar 3A. And as I said, these are about £50 in the UK. So, you know, Pasket style Kevlar helmets, pretty good. Yeah, don't forget to like the stream, everybody. Yeah, it does help me out, thank you. If you want something a bit more compact than this, I don't really know what you could get though, because most ballistic helmets are fairly chunky, because they have to be. Because the problem is, with Kevlar, you obviously need it to be thick enough to stop rounds. You know, the thinner you make the Kevlar, the less it's going to stop. Which is why you tend not to get soft Kevlar over 3A. That's when you kind of need trauma plates, because otherwise the Kevlar gets too thick to be practical. So if you had a compact helmet, I imagine it would only be like level 2 or level 2A. Because for it to get to a 3A rating, it's going to need to be chunky enough, you know, and have a bit of a shape to the helmet to help, you know, absorb and deflect the rounds. Cheers. What about Australian military helmets, Laser Point Productions? Are they ever sold? Thanks again for the donation. Are they ever sold? That's what I'm just thinking about. Because, like, in Britain, you can get surplus army and surplus police helmets for about the same amount of money, but the police ones are actually better in terms of ballistic protection than the army ones. I know the army's gone to another helmet now from the Mark 7, or they're slowly phasing the Mark 7 out for the Virtuous helmet, or whatever it's called. But the Mark 7s weren't proper Kevlar 3A helmets. They did have Kevlar in, but they kind of cheapened them a bit by putting ballistic nylon in places. So, you know, why it's certainly better than the Mark 6 helmet. It wasn't, you know, like a full-on 3A Kevlar helmet. But I don't know if the Australian stuff, yeah, if that would be an easier way of getting it. Yeah, that seems a shame, because it always seems strange to me in some instances where you get some surplus being sold off and not others. I can understand if they weren't selling their firearms and stuff like that. But yeah, like I was saying, with the UK police, they sell off pretty much everything except things like the batons and the pepper spray. But, in terms of like body armour, shields, helmets, all that sort of stuff, the police always sell it as surplus. Yeah, I wouldn't pay $300 for a Pascal style thing, because again, like saying, here you can get not too much. Might be worth seeing if anyone ships to Australia, if you can get it through customs legally, I don't know, for not too much money, but because I can buy like helmets from some other European countries, but a lot of the Kevlar 2 or 3A military helmets from other European countries still cost a lot more with postage and everything than these would. What's quite an interesting one is with the Yugoslav M59 helmets. They did a later version that was like a Kevlar kind of one in the same shape, which was quite cool. But I've never seen them cheap at all. They've always been very expensive, so I assume they were quite rare, because I assume by the point Yugoslavia started making Kevlar helmets, it wasn't very long before Yugoslavia stopped existing. In the UK, things like, lots of things like, what they call traffic wardens and people like that wear like Kevlar and stab vests now. Generally in the UK, if you're doing any kind of private security job, people do end up wearing like the stab-proof things like that. Not with all the arm bits on it, but like the combined stab-proof Kevlar vests, because again, a lot of them, if they're not the proper police ones, they just buy the second-hand police stuff, because for 30 quid you can get a stab vest or whatever. Bouncers, cash carriers, lots of those all wear stab-proof vests now. Because, like, especially if you're a doorman, like a bouncer, that's one of those jobs where, lots of people get out of those jobs just because of the risk of being stabbed. But so many bouncers now are, like, outfitted like cops just because, the chance that some drunk idiot might pull a knife on you and just stab you, over being kicked out of a pub or something is just stupid. But yeah, it's kind of a sad state of affairs, isn't it? I mean, I totally understand why you would wear protection in a job like that, but it is kind of a sad state of affairs, isn't it, when, almost everybody doing any kind of job that might involve any sort of confrontation with people have to be basically dressed in, like, essentially assault gear or whatever you want to call it. I've not got a K63, so I can't comment on, like, how they feel to be worn and everything. They look very cool, but the issue I've had with a lot of the Soviet and, like, modern Russian helmets is I've never found anywhere where I can buy them and be confident that you're getting a real one, because lots of companies make replicas of those, obviously, that don't offer the same protection as the real ones. I'd be very worried that there might be like a company buying replica ones and then like charging you a massive amount claiming they're the surplus actual titanium helmets or like the thick Kevlar ones. Yeah, I mean, any kind of helmet like that, Conrad, is going to protect you more than not having a helmet. So a helmet like that is going to protect you from some shrapnel. It might stop pistol rounds. It would, if somebody threw a brick or a bottle at your head, it's going to give you some protection from that. So I definitely say, if you hadn't got any option for getting a Kevlar helmet, at least getting, an old steel pot helmet is better than nothing if you're in a situation where a helmet would be justified. But yeah, that's the problem here, is K63s and the other sort of helmets like that are very expensive as well, and as I said, because you might not even be getting an authentic one, I don't want to spend like £200 on a helmet to find out, or not even find out, that somebody scammed me. For what I need from protection, means a 3A helmet like this is, good enough. Because I think if somebody's shooting at me with an assault rifle or a battle rifle, I'm going to be pretty screwed anyway, aren't I? So something that can stop pistol rounds and shrapnel is good enough for me, really. And this is lightweight and comfortable, as I said. Yeah, that's the problem, you get all these airsoft kind of replicas, don't you? What I found really stupid is I've seen some things where you can get airsoft replicas of things and they cost even more than the actual surplus does. It's like, there must be a market because they're selling that, but who would say, I'd rather buy a brand new, like, really cheap plastic airsoft imitation of a piece of military, like helmet or, vest or something, than buying an actual cheaper surplus military one. It's like, I don't get that. Alright, Colleen? But yeah, at the moment, as I said, this, in terms of like ballistic helmet, this is the best one I've got in terms of protection level, and I like it. As I said, it's one where the liner could be a bit better, because like the old Yugoslavian helmet I've got and the East German helmet have nicer liners than this one. But in terms of the actual helmet being a good helmet, yeah, this is good. But I'll just show you the lines of it. But yeah, as you can see, the actual like mesh bit at the top, it's similar to like what the FM12's got. That's comfortable enough, but it's just like the strap system could be better in this. The padding there's quite good, but as I said, I'd just rather have something like those old retro helmets have, you know, with just like a good buckle system, to be honest. Cool, a real Luger or deactivated one, or like an airsoft one, or what? That's cool anyway. I've been meaning to like that 1911 air pistol hype was I on about. I'm tempted to get at some point, but I'll probably wait now just because it's meant to be next month, isn't it? AMD released the CPUs. So what I want is to have as much spending money as possible by 7th of July or whenever it is they come out, because obviously I want to be getting my new PC as soon as possible rather than holding off, especially if it then ends up being that bits sell out and you have to wait even longer for bits. And then when I've got the PC, I'll know how much spare cash I've got again for a bit. You know, so I can then look into getting things like that again. I just make the thumbnails look as good as possible from, you know, little small pictures. Because the idea is basically that you want a thumbnail that people can see from a small screen and still be interested enough to click on it. Alright, again, Luger, cool. I don't get something like that having. They sound a bit like the PCSOs we have in England, where they're like not proper police. They're ones like they did it to save money in the police, but it used to be you'd have like police officers and, you know, they were proper police, and then they did introduce these things called PCSOs. And it's basically like they kind of wear a lot of the police equipment, but they can only do citizens arrests or whatever it is. Stands for Police Community Support Officers. And, you know, I don't think they had batons or like pepper spray as well. So they were like slightly under-equipped and useless police. One of my friends was a PCSO for a while and he got sick of it because I think he was wanting to do it till he got promoted to be a real cop, and then he just got fed up with it because of how useless some of the other PCSOs you were working with were, apparently. You know, like he was worried that if you got in a proper fight with somebody, you know, they'd probably run off rather than helping you restrain somebody, so you'd probably get killed or beaten up horribly. I've seen some Chinese, like, really cheap half face masks on Amazon and things, but I'm kind of tempted to get one at some point just to see if they are any good at all for particle protection. Generally, a lot of the Chinese military stuff's off the street seems alright. Like, I know obviously consumer goods from China can be all over the place in terms of quality, but any of the PLA stuff I've got in the past tends to be pretty good. I'd say probably an autoloader just for convenience, but bear in mind I've not really thought about it too much because I'm in the UK. I've used a lot of Paul Harrell's videos just because I find them interesting, but probably something like a Browning High Power or SIG P226, but a hammerless revolver would be pretty good just because, you could, as he said in his videos, you can fit it in a pocket and you can fire it from inside a pocket or whatever if you need to, and the hammer's not going to jam or anything like that. That's cool, ICP. Oh yeah, Grenadiers back then would have used muskets because they didn't have, you know, back in the early 1800s there weren't rifles, were there? I mean, I can't remember when it was when the early rifles came about. Probably early 1800s, like when you had things like the Sharps rifles, whatever they were called. Baker's rifles, was it? But again, they worked like muskets, didn't they? It's just you had things like the mini ball in them. Yeah, it's stupid, isn't it? Pro Force, stuff like that. I've played Hearts of Iron 4, but I played a lot more Hearts of Iron 3. The Type 65 was a lot better than I thought it'd be, Sophistry, when I actually got mine. Like, the rubber's fairly good quality and the straps are good on it. Again, it's a really stupid thing how the filter works in it, but my filter in mine still actually works, so, you know. Yeah, that's the thing. Some of the stuff like that, like I'm going to get a video done at some point, Laser Point Production. I don't know if I'll get a chance to film it this week, but I'll definitely film it next week, is looking at some of the masks like this and saying if they're any good or not. Spoiler alert, most of them won't be any good. But, you know, just like the common things on the market that people might buy and how it might be worth, you know, spending a couple of extra pounds and getting a proper respirator rather than lots of these cycle kind of masks. Yeah, that doesn't make any sense, does it, Profiles? Give them the thing that's more restricted and the thing that's less restricted. Doesn't make any sense. Anyway, I'll finish the stream fairly soon. Thank you for all your donations again, Laser Point Productions. I really do appreciate that. I can tell you that they've gone towards that fire helmet then, if you like, that I've got coming today, hopefully. Yeah, you don't have to donate. You can give your wallet a rest if you want on the stream. I always appreciate it, but obviously don't go out of your way if you want to be buying your own surplus or whatever. Look after yourself first, because you've donated so much to me over the last couple of months. It's amazing, but thank you again. Yeah, Israeli civilian masks are good, aren't they, Cheeky Breeky? For what they are, anyway. If you're not paying too much, like with lots of masks, there are masks that if they're being sold for certain prices, they're definitely worth it, but you know, if they're being sold for too much, they're not. That'd be cool, Soviet Union, like showing you how long the filters are left and everything like that. Yeah, it should hopefully arrive today. Like I said, it says it's out for delivery on the tracking info today. But yeah, I'll do a stream tomorrow because it turns out I don't have to play quiz tomorrow because I was asked by my dad I had the option tomorrow if I wanted to do it or not, and I said I wouldn't just because I did it from last week. And on Friday, I won't do a stream Friday, by the way, because on Friday I've got to take my granddad to the hospital, nothing serious, but you know, I'm going to help him drive him to a bus stop and help him get on the bus and everything and then take him back and all that. So, because I'm doing that Friday, I won't get a chance to do a stream in the day Friday. But tomorrow I'll probably do a stream in the evening. I might do a theme stream tomorrow, actually, if I can come up with a good idea for a theme stream. I don't think it would work for a gas mask filter, no, because the moisture and everything from the vape would be absorbed by the filter. I couldn't really tell you what the best drinking tube is on a gas mask because I've not used enough masks with drinking tubes to say which ones are good, you know, compared to which ones are bad. But as I've said before with drinking tubes, I'll make this the last thing before I go. Drinking tubes are one of those things that can be very good on a mask if implemented well, but they can totally ruin a mask if implemented badly. So I'd rather have a mask without a drinking tube, unless the drinking tube is of a very high quality. And then, yes, a drinking tube is a plus. But if it's a bad drinking tube, the mask's better without it than having one. But yeah, I'll do a theme stream, but I'll have to think of a good concept for it. But, you know, anyway. Thanks for watching, everybody. I've enjoyed today, and thanks again, Laserpoint Productions, for the donations. I appreciate that. Today's a Wednesday, isn't there? So there's a video on tonight. Let me tell you what tonight's video is before I go off. That will be on at 5 PM, so it'll be on in a few hours. 1700 UK time. Today's video, it's June 5th today, isn't it? So let me go back a page and I'll tell you what it is. The Yugoslavian M5985 helmet review and gas mask tests. Seeing if it fits certain masks and, you know, how good a helmet it is. So that's tonight's video at 5 PM, so enjoy. So, see everybody, and thanks again. Oh, thank you again. Cheers. Yeah, I probably will use that if I need a full face respirator there again, but as said, they don't mind what I use there, but again, yeah, probably would try that one out. So, see ya.